dealmaker-in-chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision.
Shalom. I want to give all praises, honors, and glories to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and the ones to the apostles and others, great millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother, I'm Noah Allah from Jim in Chicago. And as what we all have known by now, as you know, what we should be knowing by now is that on Friday, right, 4 days ago, on the 18th, all right, the Genius Act, you know, has been signed, all right, and just like what you see in the title here on this Right Side Broadcasting Network, it says, paving the way for global digital currency leadership, all right, and this man, you know, they actually talk about it, all right. You see, you got Trump standing right there. You got the other individual standing right there, you know, with the speaker. I mean, with the mic, and he actually goes into about, you know, a digital currency, all right. And what they didn't tell, you know, the media is that, you know, this digital currency that they're trying to make is actually a central bank digital currency, and real soon, all right. They did say that everybody's gonna be using it, all right. But you know, literally, real soon, everybody's gonna be using this central bank digital currency, and on top of that, it's gonna come with the social credit score, the universal basic income, all right, and really, you know, it's gonna get real bad, all right. It's gonna get to the point where with this, you know, once they actually roll out the central bank digital currency, and you say something wrong or whatever you do, all right, they can literally turn your they can literally turn off your account, all right. And what Esau is doing right now is that he's already doing away with, you know, cash. All right, like again, we're going into a cashless society. All right, Trump is already, you know, trying to get rid of the pennies. All right, and it'll soon, you know, be the dimes, the nickels, the quarters, and eventually it's gonna get to the point where people are not gonna be using cash anymore. All right, but before that even happens, all right, the economy has to collapse first, and here we are, all right, in an economic depression, where Esau is setting it up that way, you know, by creating all sorts of you know, orchestrated chaos, you know, orchestrated crises, all right, and you know, by you know, Trump's terrorists, you got all these countries that are, you know, will soon be retaliating back at the U.S. with tariffs, which can further into, you know, destroying the U.S. economy. All right, you even got the BRICS nations, and you know, China and the yuan and all that, and you know, they're making their own currency to where they're gonna stop dealing with the U.S. dollar. All right. But nonetheless, I'm gonna just play this video. Listen closely. All right, because you know, that central bank digital currency is going to be rolled out first, and you know, along with the universal basic income and the social credit score system. All right, but later down on the road, all right, real soon, the RFID microchip is also going to be implemented on a global scale and mandatory. Right, and that's the one thing that Esau wants to accomplish. He wants to RFID microchip you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Right?
I accepted this job as cryptozoan because I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work for a president who really wants to get things done for the American people. And if anything, that's been an understatement. The first 6 months of this administration have been more successful than any administration in American history. What's been done? just been incredible. President Trump has worked at tech speed. We're used to working fast in Silicon Valley, but even this is fast for us in Silicon Valley, with the speed at which you move President Trump. It's really incredible. And now today, you have another historic legislative achievement that is a monumental step to fulfilling your promise to making the United States the crypto capital of the world. This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, and it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every
people all over the world can use, creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. All right. And just remember, this is just Esau moving in gradualism. All right, he's gradually, trying to pave the way to implement the RFID microchip. All right, but right now, he's starting off with CBDC, right? Central bank digital currency. If this could load, but just like what he said, all right. Everybody around the world can use it. And it says here in Revelations 13 and 16, it says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, the Karagwa, the incision that will be underneath people's skin, in the right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark in the name of the beast or the number of his name." Alright. One of those things says, "And he causeth all," and that's exactly what's going to happen. Alright. The RFID microchip it will come to pass. Alright. Well, as a matter of fact, it's already here, but real soon, alright, we're literally going into a cashless society. Alright. And it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time, because we see it. Esau is literally showing it to you. Alright? Like, he's literally showing it to you right in front of your faces that he's about to implement, this beast system.
You said globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every digital dollar in a crypto wallet, there'll be a traditional dollar in a U.S. bank account, which will create trillions of dollars in demand for U.S. Treasury. So that is the power of this bill, is U.S. dollar dominance. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And there's just a few other people I'd like to thank. First, my family for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, they're talking about like a digital dollar, right? Yeah, that's exactly what the RFID microchip basically is. All right. It's basically can be your wallet. All right, your car keys. Your keys to your crib and shit. Right, your digital ID, or your passport, driver's license, whatever. All right. It says 17, "And no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark on the name of the beast or the number of his name." And yeah, that RFID microchip is a device, right? It's something, physical, but, once, you start using it for payments, all right, them payments are working through, through a digital form, all right? You don't actually you're not going to be using cash in your hands. You're not going to be using paper. You're not going to be using, like, quarters and all that shit. Right? People are actually going to be taking this when Esau gets them down to their knees. Right? Because Esau, he's about bringing that financial struggle onto these people worldwide. All right?
Bo Hines, who President Trump mentions, the director of our crypto council, he really did the heavy lifting here. So, Bo, I just want to thank you again. And my chief of staff, Tracy Johnson, as well, who also does the heavy lifting. And Bill Haggerty and French Hill and all the congressmen and senators who have already been mentioned by President Trump. So I'll save the time, but it was really been an honor to work with all of you. This was really a team effort. But most of all, I want to thank President Trump for accomplishing what nobody thought was possible. And it's true that just earlier this week, the media was reporting that this bill was dead. This bill was dead. And then The media didn't know one thing, that we had a secret weapon. We have a deal maker in chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision, your...
Yeah, Esau is real sly. Alright, he got the whole world distracted with that, the Jeffrey Epstein about, trying to release the files and shit and all this other crap. And everybody's distracted and shit. Meanwhile, alright, here you got, Esau using, Trump, as the puppet to, sign this genius act into law, alright? And it will be used, alright?
Leadership, your determination, your skill, that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump.
Is that Laura? Please come. Just come. She stepped into that position.
This thing is a dragon. And part of that Genius Act that has been passed, right? Best believe that, of course, there are going to be some draconian measures with that too, because a central bank digital currency isn't just, just going to be a new payment system method that everybody's going to be using, of course, because it's going to be on everybody's phones once that is rolled out, right? Because everybody's going to be using that CBDC, such as you and I, all right? Just like what they showed you in them commercials and shit, like, Chase Bank, where, they have the new digital payment system just with the swipe of the phone and shit. And, yeah, it's literally going to be on everybody's, like, devices and stuff. They're probably going to name it Fed Now or something like that. But with that, part of that Genius Act is that, they are going to have draconian measures, all right? It's going to be looking super dystopian out here, too. Right? They're going to really, implement the UBI and the the universal basic income and the social credit score system. All right, where the government is basically watching you and whatever you're saying and shit, they could just turn off your bank account just like that, where you're not be able to purchase shit and whatnot. They can restrict your they can restrict you to where you want to go and shit, But it says Revelations 13:11, I behold another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Alright. Yeah, that goes into, the Democratic and Republican side, but really, they're all on one accord on, their global agenda of, RFID microchipping people real soon. But yeah, there's like videos that you can watch, like rethinking the dollar. He's going into about the central bank digital currency, and of course 2 years ago or a year ago, whatever, or I don't remember, but all I know is that Trump did spoke about the central bank digital currency, but they're actually about to roll it out. Right? They don't have to call this act. They don't have to call this new payment system that's coming up as the central bank digital currency. All right. They're gonna call it something else, but it's still gonna be a CBDC. All right. And a lot of people are against the CBDC, right? Because some of them know about it, all right. But as for the majority of these people, right, they don't know what's about to hit them, all right. Next thing you know, all these people are just unaware, not noticing that there's going to be a major crisis coming to where there might be a cyber attack. The banks shut down and shit. People can't access their money, or people look into the bank accounts and all they see is zeros and shit, wondering, wow, what the fuck happened to my money and all that. And here you got Esau, blaming it on a cyber attack, saying, hey, here, we're gonna give you this, they're not gonna call it the CBDC, but here, we're gonna give you this new monetary payment system, alright? And it's gonna be all on your devices, alright? And then, you get a monthly payment with this too, alright? So, there's gonna be a major crisis along the way before the central bank digital currency gets implemented, alright? So, expect that too, alright? Rather be a financial crisis or another virus and shit, to where they might just want to do no close contact and all that crap. And yeah, all right. A major crisis is literally on the way, because Esau, he can't just roll this out, right? A major crisis has to happen first. Right? That's why they call it order ab chaos, problem, reaction, solution. Right? With that, I hope this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises and honors and glories to Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, and Shalom.